Welcome, everybody, to Fandom Nights, where we break down pop culture one fandom at a time. Today, we are starting with Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm Chris.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Sherman.
Yeah, so today we're starting with...
Book 1. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
The Boy in the Iceberg.
Boy in the Iceberg. This episode was released on February 21st, 2005. 15 years ago. Or more than 15 years ago.
Makes you feel old.
It does.
Brings back some nostalgia kid memories for sure.
Right.
Though.
Yeah, I remember when it was on TV, and
I was watching it.
I watched it when there was like a whole bunch of them put together, but I never watched the whole thing. And the first time I ever watched through it was on Netflix. When it was first on Netflix a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
This episode specifically got a 8.1 rating from IMDb. It's
Out of
good.
10?
Out of 10.
That's actually not bad.
Yeah, for the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the episodes are pretty highly rated.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anyone goes on to IMDb to say, I hate Airbender.
It's a very popular fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, Dustin, you want to take us through...
Should we start it off?
Yeah, take us through the story.
All right. Well, we'll take you through the little synopsis of the story. It's going to be large, not small. So we'll start off with... I started off with saying the music perfectly matches the tone of the explanation for like how it sets up the story.
Okay.
I don't know. I just like paying attention to the music, like you were saying. Trying to pay attention to multiple aspects as well.
What about the music?
I don't know. I just matched the tone of how it was explaining. I don't know.
Okay.
I think the music also kind of matches like the regional aspect of it, because like they do a lot of like drums, especially for like the Southern Water Tribe style.
Right.
Like, considering it takes place all down there.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, before that it starts, it says, I'm gonna start over on that. So I'll edit that out.
We're not editing anything. We'll just post it and go.
Heck no!
Yeah.
No!
Yes.
Just raw. Everything's raw.
Everything's raw. Yes.
Alright, fine,
yeah.
whatever. Alright, so
First
I said,
episode, people.
okay.
Don't worry.
So I said the music sounded good and it matched the tone because it sounded like a get ready for a journey kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Because of the drums, because everything was kind of like setting you up for this adventure kind of thing. So that's kind of why I like mentioned that in the beginning. So then it starts off with explaining like how the world is where it's at right now because of the Fire Nation with the 100-Year War and all that, and you know, kind of explains.
So the episode starts, and this episode might be a little longer for us.
Right.
We gotta like figure out what we're doing and all that stuff. But the whole intro. Let's just talk about the intro for a second. So there's that whole intro where Katara's saying her thing, but it starts off with the elements listed in a particular order, and it seems like that's important somewhere or for some reason, because Aang's an airbender, and somewhere in this episode it says that he, or maybe it's the next episode, future spoilers, but
It's not a certain order.
But it says that he first has to master water bending. It says that he has to do that first. I don't know why they just randomly say that, but it starts with water, earth, fire, air. Aang's an airbender, and then he first has to master water bending. So it's like the order means something.
Well, that's the cycle of the Avatar.
Right.
So if you're an airbender, then you have to go down the Avatar cycle.
The next, that's why like with Legend of Korra, which is the second one, why it goes from air nomad to water tribe.
Okay.
Because the next Avatar is going to be from the water, like a waterbender.
And then the next one after that would be an earth. And
which is why like.
So that's why he has to train kind of in that order. Because the books go he's already an airbender. He goes water, earth, and fire. So everything goes in that. It just seems like the order is really important. And I get that it's the avatars, like that's their cycle. But why, in the universe, why is that important? That's just a question we'll have to think about and.
That's something I don't think we should go down a rabbit hole right now.
For learning them in that?
Yeah. You got to keep us on track, Dustin.
Shut your mouth.
Let's run through the story here. Come on.
All right. So basically, Sokka and Katara, after the whole intro that we just spent nearly 5 minutes on, Sokka and Katara are fishing and have an argument, as typical siblings do, and Katara ends up getting in a rage and starts waterbending behind her after they go down through the river and stuff like that. And she starts using her waterbending and starts breaking this iceberg apart. And then all of a sudden, we see Aang for the first time, still in the Avatar state.
Which I would love to point out, like, that is just a testament to, like, her hidden power. Like, the fact that she does that and didn't even know she was capable of it.
Right.
Ah, it's so good.
I know.
Still in the Avatar state, because that was a question I had, like, through this episode, because it shows in the flashback later that he goes into it. Right. And I was like, okay, how many times does he go in the Avatar state in this episode? Is it twice? Or was he in one... He was in the Avatar state for 100 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Because he was asking me about that before this episode. So later in the series, it explains how the Avatar state is a defensive mechanism.
Right.
So the Avatar state is literally what kept him alive.
For 100 years, like just channeling all the avatars, just.
And that's why. That's why he dies. So like when you see in the Legend of Korra, like you see, it doesn't say when exactly he dies. But it says, like, he dies, I think it's 66.
We should try to keep away from future spoilers, because we're going to go through this whole thing. But,
sorry.
But yeah. No, that's fine. So, the light, though, like, what type... He goes into the Avatar state in that. What type of bending is that? It's like
energy
a mixture
bending.
of...
It's an energy bending.
Energy bending. That's a thing?
Yeah.
It is.
Is that a fifth form of bending?
So there's various different types of bending. Energy bending doesn't have a title to it until the end of the series.
It's only something the Avatar can do.
Yeah.
Yes. Energy bending.
Yep. Something only the Avatar is able to do.
Interesting. Does it explain that in this show somewhere?
No, it explains it in Wiki Fandom.
Actually, I mean,
it's a made up thing that you
that's
just
where
made up.
I got it.
It does explain that later. Towards the later part of the series.
That website is so backed up by every single TV show.
Because there's
everything.
And that's a spoiler. Okay. So I mean, we'll get to that part. But it's only towards
I just thought it was
the end of book 3.
It's like a mixture of everything, because there's light, so there's fire bending somewhere in there. There's water, because he creates like an iceberg.
It's a complete spiritual thing. It's like
the Avatar is a spiritual thing. Energy bending is its own separate thing.
Oh, okay, and only one person. Okay, yeah, we'll get to that.
Only the Avatar.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was just curious about the light.
Shh.
No, I mean, like, we're here to answer questions. Like,
I'm joking.
I'm just saying. Throughout this whole thing, I love asking questions, especially like, well, how come the elements matter? Like,
I think that's what we're here for.
What's the theology of the Avatar universe? If you like, I love that stuff. So,
just know if I don't answer you in the first 3 seconds, that we're skipping the question.
Okay,
I'll probably answer you.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Anyways, so then after that, we see Aang pop out or whatever, and we get my favorite part, I think, honestly, the whole series, is it seems like Aang is about to die. He slides down the little snowbank, and Katara picks him up, and it seems like he's about to die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then he just wakes up with a burst of energy. Can we go penguin sledding? And it's just the best part. I don't know.
I need to tell you something.
I love that it just takes this serious moment and just twists it, and you're like, oh, that's what this show is. Okay. Because up to that point, you're like, all right. Like, even because we just watched...
You're kind of waiting for something to break the ice.
Well, we just watched... Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
No, but, like, up to that point, you're just like, okay, so this is some random show. There's some little magic stuff going on, whatever. But, like, as soon as that twist happens, you're like, I like this kid. I like this show. I think it's a chance.
And I think that's what the creators wanted to do. That's what they wanted to do, though, is like show like his personality right out the get go, like how much energy this kid has all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So next after that, we get a flash to Zuko with Uncle Iroh for the first time in the show, and obviously we see Zuko pronouncing his like need to capture the Avatar.
The devotion.
The light source, we must go to.
We have to do it.
He only mentions his honor one time in this episode. I was expecting
his honor hinges on the Avatar's capture.
I know, but I was expecting him to bring up his honor a lot more, because that's a sticking point.
But I mean, you don't need to nail it down in the first episode. You just need to get a hint that he's after honor right now.
I mean, like, spoilers, I think, because, like, that's what a big part of, like, episode 2 is.
Yeah. I can tell that Iroh was just... It's not the Avatar, it's just some lights. Like, he's just... You can tell that, like, just like Aang is just energetic and happy and just whatever all the time, Zuko is just moody and just angry and everything all the time. And it's just, like... exhausting. You can tell Iroh's just like, okay.
I mean, wouldn't you be like hurting all the time if your dad burned your face?
Something we don't have to go into right now, but like I know that they said the original firebending was, out of what was it, like what Aang and Zuko did towards the end.
Oh, the dragons?
The dragons, but like they also learned in a more pure form of life and stuff like that, instead of a more, what the 100 Years War has taught firebending to like use power and rage to like, to get stronger in the fire. So like over a course of time...
we gotta get to that later, because that's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for that one.
That can be chills. So then I said...
I feel like we're gonna have our own flashbacks to like past episodes. Like, oh no, like you remember you were asking about this? Like...
So the next up, then we meet Appa, his flying bison.
Best friend ever.
Mm-hmm. I've gone on Amazon and debated about buying like a plush toy just to sleep.
Really?
Yeah. He's so cool.
I'm kind of curious what like a life-size plush Appa would how big would he?
Do you remember that Shamu
life size? That would be the size of a house.
I don't know about a house.
He's the size of a house.
Yeah, like a small house in Boston, say, definitely.
Oh, I mean, well, like you're talking about like an efficiency apartment, though.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but I mean, like, I could see about as big as your garage, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So then we see Appa for the first time, and Aang offers them a ride back to their tribe or whatever because they're stuck on that iceberg, and Appa fails to fly for the first time.
Oh, this is where they say, "This is Appa, my flying bison." Oh, this is Katara, my flying sister.
Oh yeah. So like, Sokka's just like doesn't believe any of this like bending or just doesn't believe in anything other than like the physical
hundreds
world.
of years.
Well, he doesn't believe in anything like he knows bending exists, but like he doesn't think anything like air bending. Like there's nothing that flies anymore, like except for like birds.
I suppose.
Yeah.
That's what he's just not used to. Yeah.
Especially, well, I mean, if you saw something as big as Appa, would you think it can fly in the air?
Another random question, theoretical question. Why did they both sneeze? Appa sneezed, and then
they were both.
Imagine being having a cold like that.
Do you think it was like a cold thing, or they were just shaking off the 100 years of just being frozen?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some science into like if you be in a lot of cold, like I'm sure like your mucus would like build up, and then once you finally release and you breathe oxygen for the first time,
this is gonna come up later.
Yeah, we're not talking science.
No. That actually makes a lot of sense though, considering like if you're breathing the same air, like it's kind of like walking outside after being stuck in your house all day. Like having that fresh air like hit your lungs.
When I have allergies and stuff at a certain time of the year, it's like, oh, there's something else in the air, and it makes me sneeze.
Yeah.
They are breathing 100-year later air. I wonder if there's something in the air.
Way more pure air back then, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, considering Fire Navy, pollution.
They built up factories.
The amount of ash that's probably
we solved it.
We're getting like deep into this, man.
I like it. You need to follow us. We're getting deep here, boys. All right, so next we got, let's see, we got Appa and the Flying Bison. Attempts to fly, is not can't. So then Aang and Gang are talking. And Aang and Gang.
I suppose Team Avatar hasn't really been built yet, so
right, it's Aang and Gang right now.
Aang and Gang.
Okay. I'll start calling them Team Avatar when they become Team Avatar.
Aang and Friends.
Okay.
So Aang and Co. Aang and Company.
Aang Incorporated.
Aang Inc.
So anyways, Aang and all of them are floating on Appa through the river or through the ocean or whatever, and basically Aang is just staring hardcore at Katara, and Katara looks back and is just like, why are you smiling at me like that? And it's just, I don't know, his face, just the way they animate his face sometimes in the show is just so funny. Like, even for a 25-year-old man, like, man, it's just so funny. I don't know.
I mean, realistically, like,
and
this is the first girl he's seen in over 100 years.
Right. He's just like, dang.
Although to him it's only been like a day, but like,
right. So like,
I
mean, growing up with a bunch of air nomads, like you're looking at dudes all day, like first woman.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're taught like celibacy or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, how do they I'm sure they reproduce. Well, remember because in Tenzin, his wife was an air nomad, right?
Yeah.
So they can have female air nomads that don't airbend.
I mean, yeah, Jinora and
right.
Yeah.
The other daughter, I can never think of her
Anyways,
name.
that's future. So then we go back to another flashback to Zuko and Iroh. And this time, he says his most famous wise quote of all time.
I don't know about that. That's far from his most famous wise saying.
What's his wise saying?
Dude, okay, so I don't, like, it's good health advice. I don't know if I would consider it a wise saying, but saying, yep, a man needs his rest. Like, yeah, get your 6 to 8 hours, but
is that
like...
how he says it? Just a man needs his rest?
He says, yep.
That's it.
A man needs his rest. You should sleep. I don't think he says you should sleep, but like it's period. At the end of a man needs his rest.
Sometimes you need to eat. Thanks, Ira.
Honestly, I think the wisest thing that's said is later on in the episode, but I'm going to let Dustin...
Oh, okay. Yeah. Get to it when we get to it.
All right. So then we are still with Zuko and Iroh, and Zuko kind of goes more into, like, how his honor, like, his father and his grandfather's great-grandfather, you know, didn't, like, their Avatar's capture wasn't really that important to them, how it is to him, because his whole honor of his family and really his nation is really dependent on capturing the Avatar. So he thinks right now.
When we talk about the symbols for Zuko's name, it gets really interesting. So I'm excited to talk about
that. Off topic, like, how many Fire Lords has there been? Because there's right now there's Ozai.
So, Ozai, and then there was Ozai's father.
Which is Azulon.
Azulon, and then there was
Sozin right before that?
Yeah, Sozin.
Okay.
Yeah, because then Sozin named
for some reason, I feel like there was another one in between then, but like I'm probably just mistaken.
Yeah, there's Ozai, and then
Ozai,
Azulon, and then there's Sozin.
Yeah, we'll get to all that.
So then, after that, so Zuko looks over at the ship that's stuck in the ice that Katara and Aang set the booby traps off of, and he sees through his little eyeglass, and he was like, I see the Avatar. He's so agile for his old age.
That's later in the episode.
Yeah, because you have, you skipped the whole time where, like, Aang's kind of hanging out with kids in the
Penguin Sledding
in the tribe.
On.
Why the heck did I listen
Because Penguin Sledding happens first, because Katara's like, oh, will you teach me waterbending?
They haven't even gone to the Water Tribe Village yet.
Because what happens is...
I have it right here. Why does it...
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, I have that here. It says, they go back, and Katara goes back and talks about, like, knowing, and lies about who the Avatar was. Wow, my notes are really messed up.
It's okay.
I swear.
It's okay.
Which is exactly why, like, especially for like people watching, like, we watched the episode prior, so that like we all have like that.
Right.
But yeah, because he has that flashback of when he's flying in the his nightmare of flying through the storm and then landing in the ocean.
Yeah.
Which is where like he wakes up and Katara's like, "Oh yeah, you've been sleeping for like
100 years."
Yeah. Well, no, like she's like, "Oh yeah, you've been out for like 2 days." When he wakes up, because like she doesn't say that until they're on the ship.
Right.
Oh, right. 'Cause, yeah, he falls asleep, has his flashback.
Yeah, and then when he wakes
up in the tent, like.
Yep.
Like how long are you asleep? Okay. And then this is where she looks at him like, oh, look at all the tattoos.
I know, she's just staring at him as he's wrestling.
It's like one of those scenes from like a Batman movie or something where he like takes off his shirt and you're like, he's
look at all those scars.
And it's like you can see his arm tattoos. You can see his head has a tattoo right on his forehead. So like, you didn't notice that?
So significant.
Yeah, because there's a line down it.
Down like his entire arm.
Like the arrows wasn't interesting, and just the straight line.
Yeah.
Also, I like how neither one of them would just question the fact that, like, when he got out of the iceberg, he's still all glowy, and like, oh, did you know the Avatar? Nope, never met this guy.
Yeah.
Well, I like how he kind of sort of lies, but then he's like, oh, I knew people that knew him. He's referring to
but
himself.
But he specifically says, I didn't know him. Yeah. I knew people who knew him, but I didn't know him.
What if he didn't really know himself?
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like, oh well, I didn't fully accept that I was 12. The Avatar, so I don't. Yeah, I didn't accept that I was the Avatar, so I never really knew me.
Right.
But I did know people that knew him. It's like that whole like lying thing.
Right. It's a lie of omission.
Yeah.
Like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying.
So he wakes up in the tent, and Katara brings him out to the whole tribe and introduces Aang to the
pretty big tribe of like
13 people.
13 people, yeah.
So I actually checked this out. Statistically, there are exactly 22 people in the tribe, and there are like only I think there's only 2 teenagers, which are Sokka and Katara. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is either like under the age of 5 or over the age of like 50.
And has to pee all the time.
And it's only women.
Yeah, except for the little boys. But yeah.
Yeah,
I did notice that in the art too, because like in the background you see people's faces, and I'm like, wait, are those a bunch of guys back there? And you can kind of tell that no, it's all women.
All women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I mean, they explain that in the beginning of the episode,
they all went off to war or whatever.
The only episode that's different at the beginning, because like you get the elongated like explanation of the history. But yeah, every guy from the tribe is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, men are fighters and women stay back and take care of the children.
And then then Aang takes his... Is that when Aang takes his staff?
Because he's holding it, and then Sokka's like, "Oh, what is this? What kind of weapon is this? You can't stab anybody with this." And just
uses the Force.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's all airbending is.
But then there's the part that we skipped over that Gran tells Katara and Aang and them that the air nomads have been extinct for 100 years. Like, oh, I haven't seen an air nomad in 100 years. We thought they were extinct. And Aang's like, what?
He seems surprised, though.
He's surprised, right. And then it just kind of glosses over it, because then he just starts talking about his glider and stuff. But
right, he doesn't have enough time to process
right,
it.
Yeah.
So it's either that or, like, it really shows how young he is, where he's just like, no, that can't happen, so whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how they're dropping hints in there, though, because later on when they're on the ship, he's just like, oh, it's impossible to be asleep for 100 years, and he's like, what? But he'd already had a couple instances like this. I didn't really notice that. But, okay, it's been hinted at a couple times, so it's probably a little easier to maybe not accept, but that it's the truth.
Probably, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I still couldn't get over why I wrote the very last thing I should have talked about in the middle. I just don't understand. Anyways. It's blowing my brain off. So then, yeah, my next thing was talking about the whole Aang and the gliding thing with Sokka. So you already touched on that. I like
how Sokka's just so proud of his stupid watchtower.
Yeah.
So he's so proud of the thing. My watchtower.
And I think that comes from him being the only, like, man in the whole tribe.
He's literally the man of the tribe.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's just
my only defense against the Fire Navy.
But it's just like someone who spent
a snow fort.
years or months just forming this beautiful shield, but then it's made out of cardboard. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter how much time you put into this thing. It's not going to protect you from anything.
It's not going to. I mean, as a watchtower, though, like,
he talks about all these little kids and Katara and all these people.
You're meant to be warriors.
Well,
I gotta pee.
Yeah, he talks about them wasting time and stuff like that. He literally just wasted time because
building a watchtower.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
He just thinks he's spinning his wheels. And I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so the flashback I talked about before was at the end, right? Mm-hmm. So then there's the second flashback of 3 in the episode of Iroh.
Okay.
This is the middle one I should have talked about first. Okay. So it goes back to Iroh training Zuko on the ship, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then they're training on the ship. Iroh tells Zuko that firebending comes from the breath. Kind of like airbending. Yeah. They share that similarity where it comes from the breath.
That was a question, and we can get into this later. We kind of need to get through this.
Yeah, we're already at 22 minutes.
Yeah, but
we're good though.
Where does the fire come from? Airbending, you take air.
I was just thinking about this yesterday, too.
Waterbending, there's water in something. You're bending something that exists.
Around you, right.
Earth exists. Fire, you have to create that. Like,
see, I looked it up.
Where does that come from?
I looked it up on Wiki Fandom. I can look that up in a second here, but there is an explanation for
it's almost like firebending is airbending mixed with earthbending or something. Or
not mixed with anything else, I don't think. I think it's just mixed with airbending, but somehow able to combust fire.
Yeah.
Because they're able to combust fire out of their hands or feet or mouth or whatever.
I think it's mainly taking your own, like, personal, like, energy. Because, like, and they explain that later on with the whole dragon thing, like, firebending is, like, raw power. Like, it's life. Like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll cross that. But it's just interesting, and that's the only one that creates something.
You think about
in a way,
fire,
but it destroys it. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah,
fire's a complex thing, actually. So then Zuko says that he can't learn like this traditional firebending. He needs the advanced tactics to take on an avatar who's had 100 years to master all 4 elements. Right? He's had 100 years to master all 4 elements.
He's supposed to beat him with
basic fire moves.
With basic fire moves. Even if he's a master firebender, he's not going to defeat someone who's had 100 years to practice.
Right.
I don't know.
I just love how that's misconcepted on him. It just makes it funny to me.
Yeah.
How he's like, this 100-year-old man, but he's 12 and just the most immature person in the show right now.
I can tell you think that's very funny. It's very funny in your head. I can tell.
What I like about that as well is that, like, it kind of shows how secretive, like, the actual, like, avatar and, like, everything about it is, like, to the rest of the world. Because, like, if you think about it, because they mentioned this multiple times throughout the series, where it's like, oh no, each avatar, like Roku himself is like, I've mastered every element 1,000 times, and it's like, all right, well, even if you were a master of one thing, like, you're fighting somebody who's mastered, like, one person who's been reincarnated 1,000 times, who's like, oh no, yeah, I know every technique.
Yeah.
I just pop into the avatar state and done. Let's go.
All right. So essentially.
Right.
So after that. Oh yeah, so I did mention something about Sokka being the oldest male around that tribe as well, because of the war.
Which is crazy because he's what, like 13, 14 years old?
No, he is like 17.
He's 17 in this? Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Katara is 15 and Aang is 12. Or Katara is 14, turns 15 by the end, or would have turned 15 by the end of the show.
Really?
Like a month after the end of the show.
And Aang says he's 12, so he's 17.
I'm almost willing to bet.
Okay.
Look it up.
Yeah, I'll check.
I mean, check. We want to be accurate here.
Yeah. Okay.
So while Sherman's doing the
we didn't say the other little theory thing I had. Aang spent an hour in the bathroom. An hour. I guess he kind of blocked up over 100. Earlier on, or maybe it happens right now. Everyone's like, "Oh, where'd Aang go? He's been gone for an hour." And then he comes out of the bathroom. Everything freezes in there. He's been in there for an hour. People haven't been able to find him for an hour. He's just like, 100 years. 100 years.
Please come out.
Anyways.
So according to the internet, Sokka is 15 at the beginning of the series.
Okay.
So he's only a year older.
Okay.
That's right. And then by the end of the series, the complete series, he's 17. Because I think they do like
they have graphic novels after.
Oh yeah. That makes more sense.
Okay.
Which I have.
See, no.
Tune in if you wanted that secret coverage later. All right, so I think we already talked about the penguins. This is probably where my notes get mixed up again. But the penguin sledding scene, did we talk about that at all?
No.
Between Aang and Katara?
I think that's now.
Okay.
Yeah, because he comes out of the bathroom. Everything freezes in there, and then...
Oh, right.
And then they're talking about...
Penguin!
What was the thing? No, they said something like, he's kidding, right?
What yeah, because he starts playing around with some of the kids, and Sokka walks up, and he's like, there's no time for fun and games with a war going on. And he's like, what war?
A war? What are you talking about, a war?
Yeah.
And I like how Sokka's like, you don't know about the war?
You're kidding, right?
And then he's just like,
Penguin!
And then Sokka, like, he says the same line, but it's like flipped. He's like, wait.
He's kidding, right?
Kidding, right? He doesn't know about the war. He's going, penguin. What is he doing? He's kidding, right? I love that.
He's joking. It seems like Aang's attention span is about 5 seconds right now.
Well, 12-year-old. Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
This is one of the
But then again, he's 12 years old, and I mean, I guess from like Janara and stuff, had her mastery tattoos and stuff too. But like, he's 12 years old and has his airbending mastery tattoos.
Yeah.
So he's mastered.
Oh, is that what the tattoos mean?
Yes.
That he's a master?
Master airbending.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, because you find out more about like
It's
how
like becoming a Jedi
airbending.
Knight, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, you find out more about like airbending, like customs in Legend of Korra.
A lot.
But
Okay.
yeah, a lot.
Okay.
But like nobody gets their tattoos until they've mastered airbending.
And there's only 2 characters in that show that have. That's Tenzin and his daughter.
Okay.
But
Not by the end of it, but yeah.
Yeah, then they go penguin sledding.
Well, by the end of it, yeah.
Because I think Milo gets them by the end, doesn't he? No?
Nope.
Oh, dang.
He wants them.
Of course he does.
He's like, Daddy, when do I get my tattoo?
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen Korra.
Chris is
so-
just,
Oh my god.
let's keep him out of the loop, Sherman. Let's keep having a fantastic...
By the way, I think he's going to love Milo more than anything.
Yes, you'll love Milo.
Okay.
You'll love
I'm
Milo.
excited.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, I wish Milo was my son.
Dude, I would. I mean,
Yeah.
heck yeah, I would too.
Milo's like legit. Dude, his farts are dangerous.
Right? Master.
Okay,
like,
future spoilers here. Let's go.
Yeah. Animated character farts. Major spoiler, guys. Alright. So... Yeah, okay, so then this is the
So we're penguin
second to
sledding.
last part. Okay, third, second, last. Got it.
so we're penguin sledding.
So we're penguin sledding, folks.
Do you want to talk about the penguins?
You
So
talk
the-
about penguins. I'm kidding.
Just hits me. So the weird part is,
Just like Aang does with the spear.
Yeah.
just,
Stop.
So, I mean, crazy part is that, like, this is one of the few times where animals aren't referred to, like, what their combined, like...
Yeah, it's just penguins.
It's just penguins, but they're penguin otters.
Yeah.
Like, one other time, I think that, besides obviously later on in the series with, like, the bear, but, like, there's only one other time that I've ever seen where an animal or any creature is referred to just its, like, one title. There's another one where, like, Iroh is just like, oh, it's just a field mole. Or a vole. Like, a little tiny, like, rat. But, yeah, penguin otters, they're, like, and then when, they don't reference them, but there's, I don't know if they're, like, tiger or, like, lemurs, because they've got weird ears, but there's these, like, seals when they break the iceberg.
Oh, right.
They're, like, yawning, and there's, like there's an awakening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they don't reference those either, like...
Have you felt it?
Yeah, I mean, but, like, all those, like, seal things are, like, waking up.
Yeah. So, penguin otter. It's very interesting that this whole show just has two animals mashed together. Every animal has, like, two animals
and I think it's cool, though, because no really other show has really done that.
Yeah, and it's creative and stuff, and that...
And there's a couple of theories as to why. Like, one of them is more rooted in, like, real-world science, where it's, like, radiation, which the theory is that the show takes place in, like, a post-apocalyptic real, like, Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
That's why they're mixed.
Which is why, like, a lot of, like, animals are mixed and why people have the ability to, like, manipulate elements. And the other portion of it, or the part that backs that theory is that, like, in this episode specifically, they talk about, Sokka mentions, he's like, oh, I think I might be going, like, have Midnight Sun Madness. And since they're on the southern pole, it would make sense that, like, winter is coming. Mm-hmm. Towards, like, this time of year, because, like, the whole first season takes place in, like, early winter or, like, fall, I guess.
Well, and he says Midnight Sun Madness. And
so the sun would be more angled towards the southern pole.
We don't see the sun ever set in this episode. Oh, no, we do. It gets like, sort of twilighty, but it never gets dark.
In the first episode here?
Yeah.
I mean, anytime, like, the whole time that they're in the southern water tribe, I don't think it ever gets dark. But it does in the northern...
Well, when they're floating on Appa, doesn't it get dark when they're on their way back to the southern water tribe?
I don't know. Well, we'll have to look at it.
I'll rewatch it again.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why it also makes more sense that, like, the winter solstice is celebrated in the northern water tribe towards the end of the season, because... Like, wintertime would be around the same time.
Man, I love how detailed they made the show.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Even though it's
great
like...
writers.
The other theory about the way the creatures are, though, is explained in Korra. A spoiler alert for this guy here and some of our viewers. That, like, when they do a flashback to the first Avatar...
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's this portion where this guy walks into a city and he's, like, half turned into a tree. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, the theory is that, like, back then people were... messing around with spirits so much that it created, like, the first hybrid creatures that, like, spawned an entire generation of, like, or, like, new breed of, like, species.
That'd be crazy.
Interesting. Wow.
See, there's something on Instagram. I follow this fandom page, and they've been talking about Avatar a lot lately, and the creator said that there's a lot of, like, potential stories to be told in this Avatar universe.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's 10,000 years of Avatars, essentially. And so, it basically, they open the question back up.
That's why I really hope that they don't do a just straight remake. I hope they do some other story, like Netflix, you know?
They're doing live action.
I know, but I hope it's not just a straight remake of this show. You know what I mean? Why? It's like Star Wars. Why would you go remake episode 7 or something?
You wouldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, like, why would you, like, do an entire live action?
You can't
think of every Disney movie that's coming out right now.
Why
they redo Mulan?
Why I don't like those. That's why I don't like those.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like Lion King?
No, not Lion King.
You didn't like them because they weren't like the original.
Right.
So if it's like the original, it'd be a lot better.
I know.
See, you just contradicted yourself.
No, I just think that there's like you said, too many stories to tell. Like, why tell the exact same story again?
Because people want the live action.
If we're going to redo Star Wars again, like they're wanting to do, why would you go through and just retell Luke's story from a modern perspective. That doesn't make any sense. Tell a different story. There's so many other stories in that universe. Many other stories in this universe.
Again, but there's a trend of just live action right
and
now.
a lot of fans online are like hoping
dumb.
that like the live action
I
Netflix
don't think
version.
So. If you can do a live action Avatar and pull it off, good.
Well, that's just it though. Like so,
Shyamalan screwed.
If.
Well, because so fans online are hoping that like the live action version isn't necessarily like the telling of Aang, but like Avatar's prior to Roku. So like I mean having like
pre Kyoshi maybe
possibly like an entire like
Kyoshi was Kyoshi and then Roku.
Yeah, but I'm saying like having like an entire like episode or no, we're saying like a lifetime of like what happens with Kyoshi. Besides just like the flashback of like that weird Kyoshi Island
what
guy.
else happened to Kyoshi?
Yeah.
Oh, there's 2 novels that I've read.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because like there's
The Rise in the Shadow of Kyoshi.
Because there's a part towards the end of the like later on in the series where you see like all the various avatars like spread out behind Aang.
Yeah.
Or I think that happened to Korra. Because like you see Aang and then like all of them.
Yeah.
It happens in the show too.
Yeah.
Okay, we should get through the story.
There's only like 2 little parts.
Oh, okay.
So the next part is, Aang and Katara go to that fire ship now. We're now at this point where they're looking in the ship, the Fire Nation ship that's been trapped in the ice for who knows how long. I think 100 years they said from when her grand had an invasion when she was young. Okay. So I think the fire ship was from there. It could have been.
There's a lot of 100-year-old people in the show,
right?
You either die super young in a war, or you just live forever. Apparently,
yeah. Why not?
Or you turn.
I mean, essentially, if you think about it, I mean, what's a contributing factor to why humans' life expectancy keeps going down? You can numerous factors, obviously, but like you could say like pollution and like all these other things.
Well, I think it's a combination of both because like once we hit a certain point where like we were past the like industrial revolution, like medicine just went straight like uphill. Mm-hmm. So like life expectancy went like all right, so life expectancy is like 75 now, and all of a sudden now it's like 90, and it's like how long are people gonna live?
Right.
I mean, not to bring like real world. How old is your grandma?
78.
70, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like past what like past life expectancies used to be.
True.
I mean, heck, there used to be a time where people didn't live past 50.
Yeah.
Or weren't expected to live past 50.
Mm-hmm.
So Aang and Katara are on the ship, and Katara's like a little bit, frightened to go on the ship because of the booby traps and stuff. And Aang kind of says, if you want to be a bender, you have to like not have fear.
Yeah. So is that? He said it like very matter of fact. Is that a thing where if you're a bender, you can't have fear?
No, you can be afraid.
But
I'd say.
But the Avatar,
I think it's natural to have
Avatar,
fear.
almost like speaking his Avatar wisdom, said, if you want to be a bender, you need to let go of fear. So,
which I think is like the wisest saying of this episode.
Oh, is that what you're going to talk
about? That's what
Oh. So in order to bend, in order to airbend or water bend,
if you want to be a bender,
you can't be afraid while you're like, I'm going to water
Yeah,
bend.
you have to be focused and accept it.
Yeah, I suppose.
If you want to be a bender, you have to let go of fear.
I suppose when you're a firebender or an earthbender, they're more like confident. They're just like,
if you're a Jedi, you need to let go of fear.
Yeah.
But I think that also speaks to like his training as an air bender. Because like they're very more carefree and like no, let's just let things be.
Flying and
Right.
We'll just pass it along, whatever.
Yeah. Interesting.
Also, I don't think you can be afraid and like use a glider when you're flying like a couple hundred feet.
To be an airbender, you definitely have
especially when
you
see
just jump off cliffs and just
when you see like the air temples. Yeah. Oh no, we're up on a mountain. Don't worry, if you fall,
Speaking of letting go of fear, this might be a good time to bring in our my favorite segment so far, where we just talk about Chinese characters because I've been slowly sort of learning Chinese, and there is different forms of it, and I'm by far not an expert, so I'm probably going to get a lot of this stuff wrong. But from all of my interneting and Duolingo training and all that stuff,
which I know we're going to get some crap for that, but
I'm gonna. From what I can tell, so the symbol for the first book is it just talks about water.
Yep.
But there's 2 symbols in there, and it essentially means gentle water, is what I've been told.
Huh.
Gentle water is what it means. But when you take the symbols, the cool thing about Chinese symbols is if you break them down, there's elements within every symbol that like mean other things, and there's like 200 base characters in the entire Chinese language. So all of their crazy looking symbols that they look Chinese to us, there's 200 elements that get put and formed into each different symbol, and so they all mean different things. So if you break down the symbols for gentle water in this one, and it's going to be kind of hard on an audio podcast to like show the symbols and stuff, but if you break down those symbols, there's two symbols. The first one means water. So it's essentially saying water, gentle, water, whatever. But the water, when you break it down, there's a little S symbol. That S symbol means liquid. And then there's 4 little symbols around that, which means liquid like contained within a boundary. So like a river or water in a cup or a lake or something that's water contained. It's not
Does that say boundaries?
Yeah. It's not just water out in the universe or whatever.
Water.
Yeah, contained water, basically, or water within boundaries. And then the symbol for gentle is a lot more complex, but when you break it up, there's a symbol for sheep, so sheep-like, like you kind of follow like a sheep, or you're very much docile, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then there's another symbol for to speak, which is like a mouth with a kind of a tongue going out, or it's like a symbol for a upside down person, and then you kind of break it down even more and more, and it's heaven below, the elements flipped one base. I don't know what I was talking about with that, but it's basically to speak.
I've been there, man. I understand.
Yeah. it's basically like to speak, but to speak in a very like nice way. So like, say you were doing something I didn't like, and I was just like, you know, you I know you're going through a rough time. You probably shouldn't be doing this, whatever. You're talking with somebody, but you're doing it in a nice way instead of, why the heck would you do that? Instead of being very forceful and like angry, it's more just like, hey, let's figure this out together. You know, that type of talk. Mm-hmm. So it's gentle water, but it's essentially like, so I'm gonna probably butcher all these, but I love just breaking it down in my own head. So in my own head, what it means, if you break it down into all the parts, it's liquid contained within benign speech. So, I don't know. And the symbol for speech is super interesting too, because it's like bitter, upside down. So it's your mouth making a change in the world is what speech means, essentially, from what I can understand, because it's a mouth with a symbol for the earth or ground, because later on we'll talk about like what earth means, the earth symbol. It's that symbol but flipped, and with heaven or a bare element above. So it's basically, with your mouth you can make change in the world. So that's what the speech thing means in Chinese. So it's like liquid contained within benign speech, and speech meaning with your mouth or with your actions you can make change in the world. And it's like, man, so it's like,
that's deep.
Yeah, I know. It's like super cool. It's super cool how in depth, like even the Chinese language. It's just super cool how in depth the Chinese language is, and it's all pictures, and it means this and it means that. And when you boil it all down, it's not just gentle water. It's like I'm
fascinated with that culture.
You're making a good change in the world, or with your speech. I don't know, but
essentially that's like what they
But then it's essentially, when you boil it down even farther, like a different way of looking at it is just kind of go with the flow, which is exactly what a waterbender needs to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought that was super interesting.
It is. I think we should have a segment like that every time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we can't break down because there are like 4 elements, but like.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it brief. That was kind of long, but in the future I'll try to keep it brief. But it's just super interesting, like how much they break it down. And then there's a whole other thing where there's ancient Chinese, and there's tons of different forms, but there's essentially older version and newer version.
Yeah, because right now I think it's...
And the newer version references the older,
simplified,
but it's different. Like the symbol for water that they use in here is the ancient symbol for water. The symbol for water now is like a... looks like a K with looks like a K, but like a mirrored K.
Yeah.
But it's that K is the 2 boundary symbols just like linked to. I don't know. It's just super interesting. All right, let's finish the story. Sorry.
No, I think we're all having fun.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
I love it.
No, I was just strictly joking.
We're having fun. Are we having fun? We're having fun.
Are you having fun? You better be having fun.
Is this almost over yet? So then, so like I was trying to say. So Aang and Katara are in the booby. They flip the booby trap.
In the booby.
We're in the booby.
So Aang and Katara are on the ship. They set off the booby trap. Sends a signal way into the air, and Zuko and Iroh and the fire ship or whatever see it, and they're like, "Gotta go there," or not go there, but they're looking in that direction. Zuko's looking through his what do you call it? The telescope.
Telescope.
Mm-hmm. Essentially a telescope, and he sees.
No, exactly like a
I think it is a telescope.
His glare.
You see what I have to deal with, guys?
That glare is essentially what Zuko does to...
Wake my uncle.
Anyways. And then...
We're adding some memes to this video. Alright. So then Zuko sees him through the telescope. Are we okay if that works?
Yes.
Okay.
The essential telescope.
The essential telescope. The essential one-eyed telescope.
Every ship must have one.
So he's looking through his scope, and obviously he can't see from that distance detail of his body or nothing like that, but he sees essentially a person jumping like
off the top of
a ship onto the ground in like 3 jumps.
And not just like the main deck, but like the top of the bridge, which is like 40 feet higher.
Right. And so he's...
while carrying a person.
While carrying Katara all the way down. And so Zuko sees this through his telescope.
His essential telescope.
His essential one-eyed telescope. And...
All telescopes are one-eyed, but... I'm sorry.
Alright, we're going to stop it here.
We gotta set up binoculars on this ship.
Maybe he does it because his other eyes burn, and so he's like,
"Oh, maybe
I can't use binoculars because."
Anyways.
And now I'm sad.
So basically, he mentions that since he can't see Aang at such the distance at detail, that he says, "Oh, he's so agile for his old age," because he thinks that he's over 100 years old, essentially. So he's just like amazed that this 100-year-old man is just so agile and carrying a person down a 200-foot drop or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything you guys want to add? Any more telescope jokes or something?
The essential one-eyed telescope, as opposed to the non-essential two-eyed telescopes. Sorry.
Anyway.
Okay, so that's the story. In this series we're going through here, I'm going to try and attempt to count every instance of bending.
How many were in this one?
This one, for water, there was 7. Ooh. 7 instances of water bending. And I'm trying to count every time. So she picked up the fish. Every time she was yelling at her brother, and it's those are 1, 2, 3, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to keep this up through the whole series because the next episode, holy crap! I was just doing little dash marks like fire 1, fire air, like. But this one was very easy. But still, there's a lot of bending in it, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. But it's going to be interesting.
So that makes me wonder if he wants to keep doing this, like, even if we go switch over to, like, Legend of Korra, because imagine pro bending.
Oh, no,
just
when we get to, like, some of the bigger episodes where there's, like, 12 people all bending, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, it's
Chris,
stressful.
how many times have you watched this episode? 17.
Like, just to get the number right. This one I'm pretty sure is right.
Every time.
Unless there's, like, some bending in the back. I'm just talking on-screen bending. There were 7 instances of water bending, 0 of earth, because we haven't gotten anyone there yet. 6 instances of fire bending. You'd think there'd be more, but every time he's like punching and doing the training and stuff on the bridge, there's only 6 times when somebody fire bends.
Yeah,
I feel like 6 is kind of a small number. Like it seemed like there was way more.
If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's what I counted. Yeah, and then there's 17 instances of air bending, including him flying, him sucking the staff to him. Just every little time he does air bending, there's 17. So that's kind of
that's what tops the list for the first episode.
17 in the beginning. We'll kind of keep track of that. It's just kind of interesting.
It's only naturally fitting.
There's a lot more air bending, and there's probably going to be a lot more air bending in general in this whole series. But it's going to be kind of interesting to find.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like over the whole series what bending had the most uses.
Yeah, and then the Avatar state.
Should we make a prediction?
Episode 1, yes.
Which one will be the most prevalent in the show?
Which bending will be most used during the course of the show? To our degree of what we're counting.
Yeah.
See, that's a really tough one, considering he has to master all 4.
Yeah.
So like he doesn't just use airbending in every episode.
And I was thinking, and I was thinking like, oh, it's clearly going to be airbending. I was thinking about that exact question. Like, oh, it's clearly going to be airbending.
How about when every time
Aang is in
flying?
every? I didn't count that because
only a human.
Right. Okay. Well, and yeah, it's because he's an animal, and because there's kind of like a sound whenever Aang airbends. There's either a sound or a visual cue that he's airbending. And,
let me talk about that.
There's a couple times. There's like one or two that I didn't count as airbending. I think it was, I don't remember where it was in the episode, but where he kind of just jumps down and it doesn't make the sound, and it's something that someone really could do. If I was an airbender, I probably would have helped myself do it, but I don't know. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but I think airbending is going to take off in the beginning, and then I'm hoping, and my theory is that it's going to be pretty dang even across all of them, which would be kind of cool.
Wouldn't it be cool if it was an exact balanced number?
That would be awesome. Yes, I know. Like what if they, I don't know.
1,500, just like all across the board, just the same number.
Right. And it'd be cool if they were all pretty close at least, because I'm sure I'm going to make a mistake here or there, but it's just kind of cool.
Well, because the tough part is you have to think about, like, they spend so much time in the Earth Kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, Katara is one of the main characters, so you see a ton of waterbending.
Yeah.
Like, they're fighting a fire nation, so you see a ton of firebending.
And the hard part is going to be when there's 12 people on screen and they're all bending, like,
you'll be rewatching.
Just on the side, it's going to say 12, and then, like, 15 later, just like...
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not going to have marks, but just
like... Other stats...
If it gets too much...
we'll see. Right. So, other stats for the show, he went into the Avatar state once. I was kind of thinking it was twice, but he was just in it once for 100 years, which is crazy.
Right.
That's probably like a record or something for the Avatar in general, like being in that state.
I mean, as far as we know, it hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he did not go into the spirit world at all. I was kind of thinking that the dream was but no, it wasn't.
I feel like that's just a natural human dream.
Zuko brought up his honor once. There you go.
Every time we don't have to drink like alcohol or anything, but have like a drink here, and like he like said his honor 6 times, so we just take 6 drinks.
There is an actual drinking game for this show.
Oh, sure.
I've seen it online too.
It's ridiculous because you'd be done by like 15 minutes into some episodes. I haven't even made it halfway through.
All right, so let's cap this off by rating the episode.
First half.
So out of 10.
Hold on. I'd like to point out a fun fact about this episode. So, I kind of found the fun fact as the actual cast member. So with the fact that it's the boy in the iceberg, so the Avatar, Aang, is actually voiced by a guy named Zach Tyler, who surprisingly has only ever... the Avatar show and video games take up like 98% of his career.
Really?
The other thing, he was the main character for voice acting in The Ant Bully, which was a DreamWorks animated movie. But the fun fact about this was, so he was born in 1993. So when this episode aired, when the first episode ever aired in 2005, you have an actual 12-year-old boy voicing a 12-year-old Avatar.
Well, that's cool.
Right?
Whoa.
I was like, that is so cool. You have an actual kid who's
That's why he kind of sounds like really young, obviously. Yeah. And then his voice is kind of breaking every once in a while. And he does wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like I said, the voice casting was...
spot on.
Spot on with him, yeah. Yeah. All right, so Dustin, out of 10, what is your rating of this episode?
I'm going to give it an 8.5.
8.5. Okay. Any reason why?
Just because, like I said, it had some of my favorite moments. Just the comedy of it, the aspect of it, just the whole. I'm like, can we go penguin sledding? And then just the random Aang moments, I guess, just made it good for me. And I don't know, it's just the beginning of what's becoming my second favorite fandom.
8.5. All right.
Well, I mean, IMDb or whatever had an 8.1, so I'm gonna get higher than that.
I feel like that's why you're basing it. Okay.
See, I would give it just a straight 8 because, like, having seen the rest of the show, and I think that a little bit of bias, like, I know that where it takes off to, but like the first episode does such a good job of like hooking you into like the main characters on like and their personalities, as well as like a lot of their like personal worries. And you see like all of it, like the music is great, like hooking you in, like the way like everybody reacts to certain things, even like all the like your not necessarily side characters, but like getting like backstories on like, oh yeah, here's the water tribe, Grand still kicking at 150 years old probably, like ancient.
Right.
But yeah, you even get like a little bit of like Iroh's humor. Like, no, hold on. Let me finish my roast duck before we teach you these advanced moves.
Yeah. It's good, but I'm going to give it a 7.5. I know that's a little low. I tend to be a little more harsh on things. Like, to me, to be a 10, it has to be the most absolute enjoyable thing that the way I could have spent 20 minutes. Like, with some form of media or something like that.
Okay.
So, like, from absolute the most enjoyable thing I've ever seen in my entire life for 20 minutes down to, like Avatar the live action movie. So that's my range right there. But so I'm 7.5 because there was some downtime, like the whole first like 5 or 10 minutes or whatever before they 10 minutes, but before they even find Aang and stuff. It's kind of whatever, but the show doesn't really have any of that magic in it for me until Aang shows up. And then even when he does show up, there is some kind of, I don't know, it's not perfect.
See,
There's better episodes out there, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are definitely better episodes, but, like, seeing, like, even that first 5 minutes, I mean, it's your rating, whatever, but, like, that first 5 minutes, like I said earlier, you see Katara's, like, hidden power. Like, there's foreshadowing in almost everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys were just geniuses when they came up with this show.
No kidding.
So that gives us an average rating of exactly 8.0 for this episode. Nice. All right.
I'm okay with it.
This has been the first episode of the Fandom Nights podcast.
It has been.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, guys?
I'm looking really forward to episode 2.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to go through this series again because I watched it a couple times, but it's been a while since I've gone through the full series. And diving into it this deep, I'm just really excited because this is something that I didn't realize you could dive into this deep.
Oh yeah,
like
I mean, we're
Star Wars or Marvel movies or something like that.
We're an hour.
Yeah, there's other fandoms out there that are I feel like way more deep than this one. But the more I get into this one, I'm like, it's
just the beginning.
It's super deep and it's also super fun.
Oh yeah,
some fandoms you get into and you're like, I gotta watch another hour-long episode, and it's just dark and depressing and all this stuff, and it's good, but it's just it takes itself so seriously. This thing, it takes itself seriously, but it's so fun that it's just enjoyable to go through.
Like I said, these guys are just geniuses. They make you forget about the story and just make you have fun sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I found it hard. Like I had to watch it like a couple times when I was doing my synopsis.
Yeah, I think I watched it solidly through once, and then I did like little clips where I was like, all right, I remember where I'm supposed to, like, what I'm looking for, like little bits and pieces that like I just wanted a refresher on.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're only like 22-minute episodes, super easy to get through.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have. So we'll see you next time, and remember to let go of fear.